Yes, hello boys and girls. It's the last show until my mini break at my sister's. Now, don't forget there will be no programmes next week. We miss a whole week and we'll be back on the usual day. Okay, now, as I said in the last programme, depending how you listen to this show, if you listen to this show via a radio station, you may hear this week's programmes repeated. Okay? This actually might be the repeat programme, I don't know. Or they may slot something else in my place. Okay, just to let you know. Podcast and YouTube and Blip TV and Google Video people will not have any news shows for exactly 1 week. So we'll be back in a week after this programme. All right? So if you do send any emails in, there'll be a little while before they come up in the show. The email address of the programme is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. This is United Kingdom Talk. My name is Chris Reardon, or Christopher, as Mum used to call me Christopher. Christopher! Dinner's ready! Did Mum used to call you by your full name or your abbreviation? Eh? It's a bit chilly here today. Now, good news, I haven't turned the heating on yet. There will be people here in the UK saying, my God, I can't believe he's not turned the heating on. It's not cold enough here. Look, I've got today on a lovely thick red shirt. Oh, it's a label. It's Yves Saint Laurent. Now, I shouldn't really say this. I don't think I ever bought this shirt. I'm pretty sure someone left it here years ago, but why chuck it out, dear? We must recycle and make use of things that the Lord above has left us. Well, I mean, it wasn't him who actually visited, but someone probably left it. I think it belongs to my ex of about 15 years ago. It's quite an old shirt. But look, you see, it hasn't faded at all. The colours haven't faded. Why is that? Because we use special washing up powder. We use the colour washing up powder so the colours don't fade. How marvellous is that? Right, now I'm going to go straight into emails because I want to clear a little backlog of emails before I go away on holiday. And we left the last show halfway through an email from the lovely Susan, our cat lover and looker after her in Dallas, Texas. Oh, hang on a minute, Susan. Have you been to the Dallas reunion thing yet? She's going to the Dallas reunion. Yeah, at Southfork Ranch. JR, Larry Hagman's going to be there. Loads of them are going to be there. Fantastic. I am jealous, Susan. Oh, let me have some Dallas music. Hang on a minute. Dallas, but I'll play you a bit of Dallas. Oh, is it here? Hang on, it might not be here. 1 minute. I've done something wrong here. Oh, there it is. Let's do that bit again. Yes, Susan shortly is going to the Dallas reunion. Oh, we love it. We love it. Yeah. Got the Dallas hat that kindly Susan sent me behind there. And she wrote in the last show about the health service that exists in the United States of America. In particular, a hospital that she knows about in Dallas and has sent in lots of newspaper cuttings and things like that. And the email basically was saying that someone went to this hospital, saw the triage nurse, then proceeded to wait hours. We're not talking 2 or 3 hours, like 19, I think it was 19 hours. Let me look back on I've chucked the first part of the email away. One person waited 23 hours. 23 hours and her name wasn't called. But she still got charged. She left in the end. She got fed up waiting. She left the hospital and still got charged by the hospital for the consultation with the triage nurse. And a spokesman for the hospital said that is actually normal practice, which here in the UK, I think that's dreadful. I mean, we just don't have a system like that. Our system is free at the point, if you see what I mean. That microphone's really close to me today. Hang on a minute. I can't push that away. There's something in the way. Susan was saying that there are other hospitals there that don't charge for the triage nurse, including Baylor Hospital, Baylor. Spokesman there said, if you don't see a doctor, you're not charged. Now, excessive wait times have plagued the particular hospital that Susan was talking about, Parkland, for years. Parkland's ER hospital for years. The average patient waits about 6 hours to see a doctor, which I have to say is comparable to here in the UK. You often hear stories of people waiting 4, 5 or 6 hours, okay? So I can understand that. But she says, but that includes those in critical condition who are seen immediately, okay? So if you've got a heart attack, you're taken in, bang, straight away you're in there. So got to point that one out. Those with less serious conditions often wait much longer. Last month, about 1 in every 300 patients waited more than 24 hours. 24 hours to see a doctor. Terrible. Another story here. A lady, let me see. A 58-year-old man was checked in for stomach pains, waited 19 hours, and then suffered a cardiac arrest. Now, this restaurateur died on September the 20th as his family members looked on. Officials say the hospital simply has too few beds for the crush of people needing care. The emergency department has 78 beds, many of which are in the hall. Often 20 or more are taken up by patients who are ready to be admitted into hospital, but for whom no beds are available upstairs. Again, I don't think that is particular to Parkland. We hear stories of that here in the UK. Certain hospitals where you're waiting hours to be seen and people literally are left on trolleys because the casualty area is too busy. We hear many, many stories of that. Not all hospitals, some. Okay, so similarity there. You see, the difference is we don't pay here at the point of source, at the point of going to the hospital. We don't pay, whereas you guys do. And I'd be really annoyed if I shelled out, $150 to see a doctor and then had to wait 19 hours. See, it's. I suppose, really, when it's free, you don't, or certainly I don't feel so much that I've got a right to complain. Although I suppose really I have. But I still believe personally that here in the UK, a lot of the money goes to the wrong people. Instead of going into the hospital care, it goes to these managers who are on vast sums of money. And the health service or ministers would argue that you have to pay the going rate. Do you? Do you really have to pay the going rate? Or is certain people being looked after here? From the manager's point of view, I suppose, if someone turned around and said, we'll give you 200,000 to do this job, if you were the manager, would you then turn around and say, no, that's too much, I'll do it for 50,000? What would I do? If I thought I was being paid too much to the detriment of the hospital, I personally don't think I'd take as much as I was offered. As long as I could have physical proof that the money I saved them would go back into perhaps buying another nurse for a year or something like that. But I do believe the people at the top are paid far, far too much, and the nurses down the bottom. You talk to managers, they always come out with these blooming excuses. They really do. A plan to build a new Parkland Memorial Hospital, costing nearly $1.3 billion, is in the works. A bond election is scheduled for November. The proposed 862-bed hospital would give Parkland 28% more beds when completed, but not until 2014. That's a long way away. After leaving Parkland's ER, the lady spent a few days at home resting with her legs up. Then she put it in a brace, which she still wears. She says it seems to be healing. She doesn't have insurance, and she doesn't plan to pay the hospital. So, a few stories there about the difference between NHS hospitals and indeed the ones in the States, weight rise as waiting to be seen in an emergency unit seems to be quite similar. The difference is we don't pay here in the UK. We pay through our taxes, but we don't go to hospital and have to pay to see anyone. And I think that's brilliant. Susan also changes the subject here because we did a little bit about stars. Celebrity stars and how sometimes they fall into disrepair with themselves. Hi Chris, I'm writing to you about the comments you made about Britney Spears and other famous people who make bad decisions and seem to have no one to confide in. Susan says, I think they probably have a lot of supported people they could turn to. It is getting them to follow the advice that is the problem. Yeah. I think that's the case some of the time, Susan. But I also think that many stars have people called hangers-on. These are not real friends. I actually don't believe stars of the television and screen, radio, whatever, I don't believe they have that many real friends. They have a lot of hangers-on who pretend to be friends. Perhaps the star will share some sort of secret or heartache with that person, and then they run off to the papers and they sell the story. Sometimes not using their own name, of course, because if I was a friend with, with Madonna, and she told me something, and then I went to the paper and said, oh, Madonna told me this, my name is, Madonna wouldn't tell me anything again, would she? But I think a lot of the stars have got very, very few real friends. I think they've got a lot of hangers-on who take their stories sometimes and sell them to the papers. And exes as well, trying to seek revenge. Funnily enough, we've got a TV programme going here at the moment, The X Factor. And there was a young lad in that called Scott. Used to be a blue coat in Pontins. Now, sadly, he was voted off the programme last week. Personally, I think for all the wrong reasons. He was just unlucky with that one. But the previous week, in one of the Sunday papers, he's a 19-year-old boy, in one of the Sunday papers, 2 ex-girlfriends absolutely slated him in the newspaper, saying that they'd been badly treated and all that. Well, whether they were or not is neither here nor there. The fact is, they saw their ex-boyfriend on the telly and thought, hello, we can make some money out of this. I don't think it even anything to do with revenge either. They saw a chance to make money. The paper went to them, or they went to the paper. They took the money, and the boy's reputation is in tatters. Or is it? Because it certainly doesn't affect the way I feel. I actually feel really sorry for that lad and full of disgust for the 2 girls who sold their story to the newspapers. I kind of respect whatever people do. But these people, not just girls, boys as well, there's some of them that are just as bad. They go to bed with a celebrity. 2 weeks later, the story's all over the newspapers. How sad are you? You must be so desperate for money to do that. You really are down in the gutter. That's how I feel about that. What about you? What do you think of people who have experience of someone else, whether it's, I don't know, whether they were girlfriends and boyfriends, just friends, whether it was one of those jump in the bed stories, And then just because they've been on the television or a little bit famous, the other person, oh, hello, is that the newspaper? Oh, I've got a lovely story to tell you about Chris Reardon. Yeah. Oh, £20,000. Yes, please. Thank you very much. I'll start writing immediately and put the phone down. Nah, don't respect you at all. I have absolutely no respect whatsoever for people who do that. I think stars have very, very few friends. They may think they have a lot of friends, but actually most of them, I think, have an awful lot of hangers-on, and that's the sort of thing people do. And I certainly don't respect those two girls for doing that to that boy. I'm not interested. He may have treated you really badly. That may have happened. I don't know the truth. But to go to the paper and sell the story for money? Nah. No respect for that. Susan goes on to say, what do you think of that, incidentally? If you've got any comments of that at all, don't forget the emails will take now a couple of weeks to come up in the show because we are off for a week. But if you want to send any comments about anything in the show, as always, it's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Susan says, Helen, my best friend, is this way. She has been married 5 times now and is currently divorced again. I lost count of the number of live-in boyfriends she has had. Susan. Oh, she's starting to sound like me, dear. I lost count years ago. The sad thing is, it stopped. It's all stopped, Susan. But don't worry, I've got my 2 cats. You see, Helen doesn't like to be alone. She'd rather than work through the loneliness and find other activities to fill her time, she will go to the singles clubs and bars and bring home another deadbeat. The last one moved out a few weeks ago after they had an argument. He had lived with her for about 6 months without contributing a penny towards expenses. Oh, we've all had those, Susan. We've all had those that move in and then want a free ticket. They don't give you money for food, electricity, rent, nothing. And eventually, it costs you to keep them there. I've even had people come here, not as partner, right, but as friend, quote, could you let me stay for a few days while I sort myself out? Anyone had that one before? I'll only be here a few days. So they move in the spare room. 6 months later, you're still trying to get them out. They don't give you any money. You go to the fridge, stuff's gone. When you want some tea, the milk's missing. Oh, I'll get one in a minute. And it costs you to have them there. And I decided a few years ago that that was never going to happen again, and I stopped it. Even now, occasionally people say, could I come and stay at your place for a few days? You don't have to say no. You make up some excuse that may not sound very charitable. But I've had bad experiences of, I mean, no one's ever stolen anything. Well, yes, that's happened once. Disappeared suddenly and stuff was missing. But I think you get to the point where you keep putting people up. And then things keep going wrong. And then you suddenly think, right, that's it, never again. I've got a friend at the moment, his name's Tom. You remember the one who had the car damaged a couple of weeks ago? He's got that problem at the moment. Got someone in the house, said they'd be there a few days, have been there months, can't get rid of them. As I say, it may sound uncharitable, but when you've had perhaps been, dare I say, used a few times, you become very wary and you just don't want it anymore. Susan says, we all try to give our friend Helen support and advice. I've suggested she see a counsellor for a while. I did this after I broke up with the boyfriend I had dated for 5 years. The counsellor had told me that my life is like a pie. One slice is the time I spend at work, another sleeping, and so on. The slice that used to be the time I spent with a boyfriend has to be filled with other activities to help me get over the loneliness. You have to make a list of everything you're going to do to fill the pie. Since Helen doesn't work, we've also suggested she volunteer as a greeter at a hospital or volunteer at some other organisation. But Helen doesn't feel complete without a man. Therefore, she continues to bring home whatever she can find. Helen will call her friends up and complain about the men constantly. But don't you dare say anything about them or she will accuse you of being jealous. I think this is probably the problem with a lot of celebrities you mentioned, and some people all of us can relate to. Helen will always be my best friend, even though we are complete opposites in personality. The only thing we can do is help just be there for her and listen when she needs to talk. The change has to come from within her. And I do see that, Susan. It's very, I think, probably Helen doesn't realise what a good friend she has in you, does she? She's very lucky to have you as a friend, Susan. Thank you, Susan, for your emails here, my darling. On we go. Let me have a look at my clock, see how long. We've got loads of time, haven't we? Hello to Wayne Anonymous, who sends in 3 emails here. I've got 3 from you. He says, Chris, when you suggested that Ross Patzelt drive his work van to one of those coastal towns with the disappearing roads, I shuddered at the thought. Poor Ross has been telling his listeners, as Ross Patzelt of the Ross Patzelt Show, which you can download from his podcast. Although he didn't do one this week, his computer's gone wrong, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. rosspatzelt.co.uk is the website address there, okay? rosspatzelt.co.uk. Paul Ross has been telling listeners of his Geekcast. Go to donnacarter.com for information on his girlfriend. Now, he got me with this one, actually. That is a website for an American comedian. I'm afraid that Ross's Donna may only be a figure of his imagination. He's wondering now, Wayne is wondering, did Ross dress up in drag and then walk into the bank to sign papers for the new home purchase? Oh, I see what you're saying here, Wayne. What you're saying is that we're not actually sure that Donna actually exists. That's what you're saying, isn't it? We think possibly that Donna is a figment of Ross Patzelt's sad, lonely imagination. Could that be what's occurring here? Remember what Ross said about coming home from work and then immediately removing his clothes. He did not specify what he is putting on. Do you remember that show? He wrote in and says when he gets home he takes off all his clothes and then gets a can of lager out the fridge. But he didn't actually say what he put on to replace the clothes he'd taken off. Perhaps he wants to be close to a pub, being able to walk there in heels and a skirt so that the other bloke pays for her drinks. Is that right, Ross? This will require further investigation by Nikki French. She is supplementing her income by making personal inquiries. Anonymous, you're very bad today. I actually don't see Ross in drag, to be honest. I can't see it somehow. Wayne also says, a long-time listener and music critic Carl in Yorkshire ran screaming from his home after listening to the October the 23rd edition of United Kingdom Talk. Neighbours reportedly seeing Carl hand over his ears, yelling, "I can't take it anymore," as he ran off down the street. Staff members from the Institute for the Very Nervous are hoping that Carl will, once again, turn up on their doorstep for another brief vacation. If anyone sees Carl wandering aimlessly on the street, just give him some fish and chips, up lad, to keep him quiet while awaiting the arrival of attendants to collect him. Ever watchful of our members, Wayne. Anonymous. That would be the one where I did the duet, would it, with Suko? Now, on the subject of Ross's computer breaking down, look at this. Stop the presses, again from Anonymous. Word has reached us that the Geekcast will not be available this week. Donna lost patience with Ross's lack of assistance in the house move and took matters into her own powerful snap hands. The Pats Out Productions laptop computer is now making rattling noises from inside, and the outer case was found covered in makeup. A follow-up to this story indicates that Ross is under a table at his neighbourhood pub. More as this story develops. Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. Keeping an eye on us all. It's a very good writing you're doing this week, Wayne, I must say. Talking of Carl and Yorkshire, you may have heard the show where I mentioned that he does do like an amateur radio show that he does. And he says, amateur radio, amateur dear, what a liberty. Thank you, Carl. We're loving these emails today, fast and furious. We'll get through these by the end of the show, okay? We've got to do these before I have my little week's holiday. Hello to Dougie. Thank you, incidentally, to Dougie for that horrible picture of a bird-eating spider that he sent through. And I do believe it was a golden orb spider, one of which I've seen a few of those when I was in America, and they really are as big as your hand, these spiders, massive things. If you're on the internet, type in golden orb spider and you'll see what I mean. Doug says, hi Chris, you were asking what we would like to be able to do again if we could when we were children. Here's a few things I came up with. Doug says, Christmas morning, getting up way too early for the folks and being told to go back to bed. I always remember laying in bed when I was 16. Well, I might have been 14 or 16. And it was Christmas morning, very early. I'd gone to bed. I suppose it must have been about 1 o'clock in the morning, I would guess. And I heard my door open. And I pretended to be asleep. And I saw my dad coming into the doorway. And he had a sack with him. Big sack. And he quietly put it down next to my bed. Left the bedroom. Closed the door. I waited a few minutes. And I got up out of my bed. And I looked in the sack. There were lots of goodies in there. And I was just so desperately trying to be quiet. And the door opened and Mum came in. Christopher, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just having a look. Go on, go back to bed. You can open them in the morning. Oh, Mum, go on, go back to bed. So I went back to bed and back to sleep, and I didn't open until the next morning. So, yeah, I know that one. Oh, how fantastic that was. How we missed that. That was the year I got an electric train set, I think, for Christmas. Doug says, seeing the presents under the tree, and us kids always left a glass of milk and cookies out for Santa Claus. Yeah, we did that. I did that as well. It was always really cool to find the glass with just a few drops in it and crumbs from the cookies Christmas morning left on the table. Doug would like to be able to ride a Stingray bike with a banana seat. I rode my 3-speed Stingray all over the place in Marshalltown, most of the time just to go off by myself. My nephew, my 11-year-old nephew, got a Stingray bike. I think it was 2 years ago. And, you know, I tried to sit on that. What an uncomfortable bike to sit on, because you kind of sit back, don't you? You kind of sit right back in the seats on those bikes. And on the most uncomfortable bike I have ever sat on. And I don't know how they turn corners, but he seemed to be able to ride it. Doug would like to be able to play with his Matchbox and Hot Wheel cars again. I had a whole box of those. And to play with my O and HO gauge train sets that I had. I wish I'd had all the electronic stuff I bought at garage sales when I was a kid. And he'd also like to take a walk all by himself in my old high school, Marshalltown High School. So that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant there. He says, do you think a few of us could sing a few Christmas tunes around Christmas? Your plant would also look cute with a few Christmas lights on it also. Oh, I haven't got my plant behind me today. I've got a little wooden cat that was bought for me years and years, well, not years, about 5 years ago by someone, I think it was from Thailand, a little wooden cat that I've got behind me. Yeah, I quite like the idea of people singing Christmas carols. If you're able to do that and send it to me via the email address chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, I'd be happy to play those out at Christmas if you've got any to play, all right? He says, I'm also attaching a few flash files, use Firefox to open. So thank you for those. And I saw that picture of the spider-eating bird is not nice, dear. We don't like the spider-eating bird. Thank you, Doug. Doug also writes on another email. Oh, I haven't got to that yet. Oh, yes. Talking of things that people have sent us in to listen to. Hang on a minute. Let me just... what am I doing here? I've got to put that email there. And that's another one. Oh, and that's what I meant to say. Carl in Yorkshire also sent me a picture of him in a F1 motor car. And he says, hiya, this is me in an actual F1 car. It's only missing the engine as a gearbox for obvious reasons. Photo was taken this year at Countryside Live Exhibition, which I was helping to cover for the hospital radio station that he does his some of his radio stuff on. Belongs to a company called Real Simulations here at Harrogate. They also have a couple of flight simulators as well. Apparently the best lap time of the weekend was 1 minute 30 seconds, and anyone doing under 2 minutes was doing well according to the owner. What, in a car without an engine and gearbox? How'd you get it to move? Hang on a minute, I don't get that. Am I reading that wrong? You say, this is me in an actual F1 car. It's only missing the engine and gearbox for obvious reasons. And then you say, you did 1 minute 43 seconds. Don't get that, Carl. You haven't explained that well at all. I can see you in the picture sitting in the car, but then you say it hasn't got an engine. So what does that mean? Is it... or is this something to do with it as well? Belongs to a company called Real Simulations. They also have a couple of flight sims as well. Oh, I see. You were. It's a simulation. Well, you were driving in a simulator. Oh, that wasn't very well explained, Carl. Don't start sending in those. Oh, what are they called? Oh, what's that word now? Not a joke. A cryptic thing. You don't. The email was a bit cryptic, Carl. Please think before you write. Thank you very much. Oh, that was hard work. Oh my God, here he is again. It's a man in Iceland, Robert in Iceland, who says, "Hi, Chris." Robert is, of course, someone who owes. He's owing us a lot of money, Robert. We think Robert is actually the person who's owing all this money to everyone else. Robert writes, "Hi, Chris. I'm writing to you today from my secret island in the South Seas, with the sounds of the musical South Pacific playing in the background. How beautiful. This because since you blew my cover about the Icelandic money, I have now been forced to do a runner. Cheers, mate." Well, the rumour is that old Brownie, that's Gordon Brown, ain't too happy with me right now, or the United Kingdom talk show, for breaking the news over his mates coming over to Iceland to get their money back. Yeah, I don't think Gordon Brown's too happy with me. I'm a little bit worried, to be honest, Robert. I have a feeling that at some point I might be walking through the streets of London and then suddenly I'll have a poison spike on the bottom of an umbrella thrust into my leg as I walk past some dodgy character. He said that vampire Chris, which I thought to be a bit strong actually, and that half-baked, twisted little Bob the Viking is going to pay for all of this. Which is just as well, since he hasn't got any more money now, and we all have. Well, I have actually, he says. I have sent you some fish on account, with more to follow if you can shift them at the various pubs that you are known to frequent. Do you think that Mrs. Brown gets upset living next door to her husband's darling? I love it! Gordon Brown's darling! Oh, we haven't heard that one before. I wonder if the newspapers will pick up on that one. Gordon Brown's darling. Yeah, because Darling is the name of our Chancellor of the Exchequer, who lives next door to Mr. Brown. So he is Gordon Brown's darling. Just a thought. Well, have to go now, as it's happy hour at the new Viking bar. Might have an opening for a DJ if the price is right, from Bob the Viking. Thank you, Bob. Now, I just said to you, talking about people who have sent in bits of sound for us to play. Now, I meant to play this on the last show, actually. I need to put my headphones on to do this. Because it was the one before Halloween. So today's show, of course, you're hearing this now after Halloween. But I didn't mean to play this as sent in by Matty in Australia. A little bit of audio that Matty lives in Tasmania in Australia, okay? And he sent this in preparation for Halloween Day. So have a listen to this, boys and girls, all right? Have a listen to this. I must warn you, it gets a little bit loud at the end. So I've got my hand here on the fader. I don't want you to jump out your skin when you hear this, okay? So be warned, he says a little bit and then he makes a loud noise, so be warned of that. Here's Matty from Tasmania in Australia.
Hello, this is a reaction of Chris Reardon. My name is Matty the Tasmanian Devil. This is a reaction of Chris Reardon.
Yes, I told you, it is rather scary, isn't it, eh? Calm down, Matty, for Christ's sake, dear. I did promise that I would play that one out to him. So there you go, Matty. Got you a little bit of audio played out there. That would have been perfect for Halloween. I hope we haven't frightened anyone too much. And Matty writes here, do you remember when I suggested that I thought one day watches, things on your wrist, might actually die out? Because we have clocks on everything now, don't we? Video recorders, mobile phones, everything you buy that's electronic seems to have a clock on it. And Matty says, hi Chris, I don't think watches will die out because I wear a digital watch and sometimes on my mobile phone Samsung it is not accurate time because when I turn it off it changes. So I always wear my watch. I think there must be something wrong with your mobile phone there. And perhaps a setting or something like that. Because I have a Samsung and it doesn't do that. I can't go to watch without my mobile phone because we can't, without my watch, because we can't use mobile phones at work. So then I can keep an eye on the time. I always looking at my watch. Does that mean I'm a bad boy? Well, not necessarily. I think we all do it, to be honest. If I'm doing a job, perhaps a DJing job that I might be bored at, then sometimes I actually turn my phone over or I blot out the clock on the front of the computer because I think if you're bored and you keep looking at your watch, time does appear to go slower, doesn't it? So you're best to not look at your clock, I think. He says, I'm always in a hurry, impatient to get back home from work. Well, Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I always look forward to going home, even when I'm on holiday. Actually, I always look forward to going home. Matty also writes, "I'm glad you enjoyed the Head Candy CD that I sent you. I like Head Candy, it's very good. I like to listen to my music at home so I can listen properly in my bedroom. I listen to music in the car, sometimes in the car. I'm sure you will like the other music as well. Yes, thank you very much. I like Miguel Miggs and Miss Dynamite, etc. My mum and dad are both retired now. I think mum worked before I was born and when our old house in Victoria on mainland Australia. I think my dad worked at OCE in Melbourne fixing photocopiers. That's what I can remember. I think he used to take me to work when I was in primary school, so I was pretty young then. That was years ago. I'm now 27. I was born in 1981. I think my mum used to work for debt collectors. He says, not a nice job, I know what you mean. I don't think she liked it at all. And also worked for Telstra, like that telecommunications company writing out the phone books. What personally? Surely she didn't write out all those phone books personally, did she, Matty? I used to play the keyboard in high school, but not anymore. I don't know how to play music well. I can, but I'm not good at it because I don't know the words, don't know the notes. Well, you don't necessarily have to be good at playing keyboards and pianos and things. I think if you enjoy doing it, do it. Just because you're no good at it doesn't mean that you yourself shouldn't sit there tapping away at the keyboard. I don't think I'm particularly good. I think I can play a tune. I don't think I'm that good. But quite often I'll turn on the piano downstairs and start tinkling away, just for my own benefit. He says, I'm good at a bit of a geography and I know places around the world that I like reading about Britain and Europe. I know the UK has hidden secrets. There are places and things to do there, like castles. We don't have castles like yours here in Australia. No, that's because you're a relatively new country, really, aren't you? I'm not good at reading long books because I can forget some things like stories. But I like fairy stories like Beauty and the Beast. Oh, yes. Till the test of time. I love that song, don't you? And the one that's the cup. You know, Beauty and the Beast, there's a character that is a cup, isn't there? Yeah. But I do try and read sometimes like travel magazines. I can work out what people are saying in the magazines or book. I also like bike riding. Yep, I like going out on my bike. I don't go to the beach, but sometimes just along the sand. When I go bike riding with my mum. Or you don't go on... Do you go on the sand on your bike? That must be hard going, isn't it? I don't think you can ride a bike on sand, can you? It just sinks all the time. I also do running sometimes. Well, I used to do running, but I gave it up about, almost be about 6 months ago now, because I found it was damaging my knees. I must go out more and do more things like bike riding and running, but sometimes it's impossible because of the work's in the way, and sometimes I can't be bothered. I know what you mean there by can't be bothered. Sometimes I can't be bothered to go swimming, Matty, but I force myself to go. And I always feel better after I've been. Always. All right? He wants to know, how is Bracknell? What's it like here? Oh, OK. Well, Bracknell, where I live, indeed where the Mirable studio is, it's a fairly green town. OK? We have a lot of greenery everywhere. I'm surrounded by tall, beautiful Scots pine trees. And they are, I suppose... twice, maybe 3 times the height, 2.5 to 3 times the height of the house, and I'm surrounded by them all here. We have a few shops. There's enough shops here, a couple of supermarkets. Yeah, it's a fairly big town, but it's very green. Lots of trees and that everywhere. I love it here. He says, is it near Ascot, the horse racing? Yes, very near. I can drive to Ascot, take me about 15 minutes, if that. Probably not even that, 10 minutes to drive to Ascot. Is it big like Windsor? Bracknell? Oh, I would say there's probably more people living in Bracknell than there is in Windsor, yes. How many shops and places and things do we have here? We've got enough shops. We've got enough. I don't think you need to leave Bracknell for anything. We've got enough here. All right. Hampstead. He wants to know about Hampstead. Hampstead is very affluent. It is very expensive. Matty, even I don't think I could afford... Well, if I sold loads of stuff, I might be able to afford to live in Hampstead. But it is a fairly expensive, very expensive area of London to live in, Hampstead. Okay? He says, there are lots of interesting places that I'd like to see in Europe, the UK, Scotland and Wales. I'm also attracted to Edinburgh, where they have the military tattoo. Yes, they do. Up in Scotland, they have the military tattoo there. They also have some great, some beautiful buildings and architecture up in Edinburgh. And, of course, also in Scotland, one of my personal favourite places in the UK are the Scottish Highlands. Beautiful moorland. Unspoilt by humans. Just some stunning scenery up there. Not many people, not many buildings, just grass, vegetation and trees. And I really like that, Matty. All right, so thanks for those emails there, Matty. I'm sure I had another one here from you somewhere that I intended to read out. I've checked on the computer system, but I don't seem to be able to find that now. I can't even remember what it was about, so I'm sorry about that. If you've sent another one in there, I think it may have accidentally chucked that away, that one, with some of the others. So sorry about that, Matty, if I have. Okay. Hello to Leo in Norway. Hello, Leo, who says, I'm sitting here at 3:45 in the morning, listening to one of your Saturday shows. We all changed the clock back 1 hour all over Europe, I think. Is that right? Yes, it certainly is. We're all now on Greenwich Mean... Well, we are in the UK. We are on Greenwich Mean Time. If you ever want to know what the time is here in the UK, then just look up what the Greenwich Mean Time is at the moment, and that is what time it is here. He says, Norway has not yet joined the big party of nations. What do you mean? Oh, do you mean we've turned the clock back? Hang on a minute. We all changed the clock back 1 hour all over Europe, I think. Isn't that right? All the EU countries, anyway. Norway has not joined the big party of nations yet. What big party is this? That you're in the EU, aren't you? I'm sure you are. The same applies for Iceland and also Helvetia or Switzerland. Helvetia or Switzerland, I think. What the hell are you going on about here, Leo? I'm not understanding this at all, mate. This is a cryptic email, isn't it? Wintertime, clockwise, is the same all over Europe from today, Sunday the 26th of October, is it? I have not looked it up yet. I don't know what you're going on about here, mate. 1 minute you're saying we've all changed the clock backs, and then you say Norway hasn't joined the big party of nations. Well, you've lost me here. You've completely lost me, Leo. He says, I would like to get the email address of your United Kingdom talk friend in Iceland. You may or may not know that Iceland and Norway have strong bonds going all the way back to the Viking ages. The Vikings! The Vikings! Yes, I'm sure you have. Therefore, it would be fun to get him to send an email and ask him if he was into the early history of Iceland. What I will do, Leo, is, as you have sent the email to me asking for his email, I will assume that it would be all right for me to pass your email to him, okay? As you've made the instigation there, right, rather than the other way. So I will give him your email and he will reply to you if he wants to, okay? He sounds like a very sharp person with both humour and knowledge on many topics after listening to his mails to you. Yes, he is. He's a very, very funny bloke, Bob in Iceland. Very, very humorous. Could you ask him if it would be all right to send me his mail address? Or I'll pass yours on to him, okay? Our languages are also closely related. The Icelanders speak the old Vikings, like the old Vikings in Norway used to speak, and right back around the time of the year 1000, give or take a couple of hundred years. Did you know that, Chris? No, didn't know that. We have a saying here, oh, blimey, I don't know what that says. It's all in foreign. How am I supposed to say that? Man larira sa lenge man ha eleve. Or... this is better. One learns as long as one has pupils. Guess it's very true. What, you mean looking at things? Yeah. It's very important to have someone questioning your views on a lot of matters, so then maybe you get to know yourself better. If you have something wrong from the start, you get my drift? Yes, I certainly do. We should all listen to each other. We can all learn from each other all the time, can't we? This is the beauty of life. As you may remember, and that's indeed what part of this programme's all about, learning from each other and sharing stories. As you may remember, Chris, I'm a keen gardener and have been all of my grown-up life. Turned 60 last March, I did. Yep, Leo's 60. An old man who is 20 inside his head. Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel I'm still about 30. I do. Inside my head, I still feel 30. Maybe I could be your advisor and also the listener's advisor on questions concerning that topic. What, growing up? Yes, we like that. I would like that a lot, especially in this part of the year, when things are under control in the greenhouse and garden for the winter. Now I have more spare time and can do other things than running around in the garden being very stressed up with 100 things to do simultaneously. It's lovely, isn't it? Even on my mind, I have a Wednesday off and I like to take things easy, potter about in the garden, do things like that. None of this rushing about anymore. That sounded bad, didn't it? No, not at all. What I mean is that as you love your hobby, it expands. You sow more seeds, but more trees and shrubs, buy more trees and shrubs and so on. It tends to be too much in the end. In the garden, I know exactly what you mean. I am always fighting for space now in that garden, believe me. He says, guess that goes the same for many hobbies. But some, you say, just put away and then start again when you feel like it. Not so with plants and trees, though. If you say A, you have to say B. They need tender, loving care from early spring until late in the year. Water, fertilisers, pruning, changing into bigger pots, and so on and so forth. Guess this will do for your night anyway, so say hello to all your lovely listeners from me here in Norway. There are so many good people out there. Greetings from the singing gardener in Reardon in Norway, Leo. And thank you for the pictures of the pumpkin. He sends picture of pumpkin. One of his beautiful black and white cats there as well. And you've got a lovely cat. It's a picture of his cat there. Thank you very much. So that's it then, Leo. You are now our gardening expert. And Leo, I'm going to have to ask you a question myself to start the ball rolling. Leo is Reardon Town's gardening expert. Leo, a few weeks ago, I put some feed and weed fertilisers type stuff onto the lawn. And a lot of it has died. What do I do? Do I just leave it? Unfortunately, you know, we're out of the growing season, so I don't think it's going to come back now until the spring. Terrible. I know I've put too much on, haven't I? That's what's happened, I think. What do I do, Leo? Is there anything I should do? Let me know, OK? The email to the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Suko says, we were talking about food shopping, weren't we? And I'm talking about recycle bags. And I now have a cupboard full of recycled carrier bags. You know the cloth ones you buy. What are they called? Reusable carrier bags, sorry. And I keep forgetting to take them out to the shop. And then I buy another one. It's ridiculous. She says, by the way, I went food shopping yesterday and forgot the recycle bags. Could it be the power of suggestion? Oh, it's happened to you as well, has it? Dear me. Suko also likes, we were talking about a while ago, Gregorian chants. You know, we got the monks singing. And she says one of her favourite groups is Enigma. And they were very clever. They took Gregorian chants and put music to it. And it's really, really very beautiful. I remember a particular track making the charts. I probably play a little bit of it for you, actually. Making the charts years and years ago, Enigma and Sadness, Part 1. Let me just play a little bit of it for you here. See what you think of this, eh? All right, I'll just move that along a little bit. You can hear a bit more. go. That's part of Enigma and Sadness Part 1, a record that they had out in the charts a while ago. So beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thanks for that, Suko there. Oh, here it is. Here's the other email from our Matty. Now, I've got 2 emails left, and I'm not going to fit them in on the show because we've only got about a couple of minutes or so left, all right? Thank you again to Doug in Akeley, because Matty's always mentioning that music that I like is from the Stone Age. And Doug says, music from the Stone Age is good from something. And he mentions the Bee Gees and Staying Alive. Because at 103 beats per minute, the rhythm will get stuck in your head. It's the perfect solution to truly help people staying alive doing CPR. That's when they do that banging on there, that pushing on the heart when it's stopped, isn't it? CPR can triple survival rates, but some people are hesitant to do it because they're unsure about the proper rhythm for the chest compressions. And they've used this music rather cleverly to sort of, and it kind of works in time to how you're supposed to push the chest. So thank you very much for that that long email there, Dougie. I think I'll probably read that out fully in one of whenever we do when the next show is in a week's time. Okay, Doug? So thanks very much for that. And finally, and I think I've got through all the emails. Look at that. The final email today from Matty, which I can't read. I haven't got time to read this out, but it involved ghosts and movies and all sorts of things, so I'll save those for the next show. Now, I'm off for a week now. Don't forget that, boys and girls. I'm now off for a week. I shall see you in a week's time. Keep sending those emails in. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Up to my sisters for a mini break. I can't wait to see those children, and I hope she's got my sausage rolls. See you on the next show. From myself, Chris Reardon. See you now. Bye-bye now.